best person for that job?
Well, I appreciate you having me here, Raphael. And why am I the best candidate? I would say because I have a proven track record of actually getting things done, both in the public sector during my time in the state legislature and in my private sector day job, where we've done complicated projects like the cigar factory on East Bay, preservation projects like the Garco Mill and Park Circle. So taking that vision and taking that leadership to City Hall is something I'm excited about to turn the next chapter for our city.
And what is one of the biggest or the biggest issue that you think the city of Charleston is facing right now?
I think growth is a major issue. This is a world I know very well. We've been growing in a way that has been pushing a lot of the local residents out. We've been growing in a way that is not in character or scale with the city that we all love. And so that's something that I'm excited to bring my expertise to try and help solve. And I think one of the key points on growth is making sure that we have infrastructure in place before development happens, so that the quality of life that we have here in the Low Country remains intact.
Now, as a developer, you mentioned the cigar factory. That is one of the places in downtown Charleston that have been gentrified the most. That area has changed a lot over a 10, 15-year period. You talked about utilizing growth or implementing growth that doesn't push people out. How do you accomplish that?
Well, I've got a pretty, I think, robust platform on how to maintain or enhance affordability in our region, not just our city. And it starts with things like working with the state on modifying the low-income housing tax credit. You can also get into things like putting a property tax cap for folks that have been in their homes for a long period of time, because what you want in terms of this rising tide that we have here in the region is it for it to lift all boats and not just some boats. And that's what you're seeing in places like the East Side. With the cigar factory, I'll say that we're proud of the redevelopment that was done. It was originally supposed to be condominiums. We brought it back to allow for local businesses. And the tax revenues that come off of the cigar factory have been able to provide the income that the city has built the affordable housing on the East Side, predominantly in the Old Bridge corridor. So it's something I'm very proud of.
Okay, so let's talk about you and the current mayor.
Sure.
You're both in politics. You're both real estate guys.
Sure.
So what separates you?
Again, track record. I would say that John, really nice person, but in terms of the track record that he's had over 2 terms, has been pretty limited when it comes to affordable housing, when it comes to actually flooding, when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to how our region's grown. And so when you look at me and the opportunities that I've presented for the region in terms of the redevelopment efforts and preservation efforts that I've done, and then also my time in the legislature, being part of the team that was able to get the largest tax cut done in our state's history, all the while funding things like the Conservation Bank, like raising teacher pay, and funding one of the largest infrastructure bills that the state's ever passed. So again, just goes back to track record. You're going to see a lot less talk with me and a lot more action.
Now, you mentioned growth is one of the biggest platforms that you have, but what about flooding? That's been a major issue around here for some time.
Absolutely. I mean, Charleston floods, sea level is rising. It is an existential threat that we're faced with. I think what we're seeing and today, the problem's not getting better. The problem's not solving. We have the idea of putting a barrier wall around the peninsula at a cost of $350 million to the city. To me, that is the wrong approach, because it does nothing to help flooding and people of West Ashley, people of Johns Island, people of James Island, people of Daniel Island. And really, in my mind, it doesn't do a lot of good for the people of the peninsula if you put a 15-foot wall around it. So I have a very different approach. I'm more for dealing with the problems that we have here and now. And I'm excited to bring those ideas again into City Hall.
Real quickly, if you win and we fast forward ourselves a year into the future and we say, you said you were going to do this and you did it, what would this be?
Well, I think you have to start in City Hall with restructuring a lot of the city government, because it's not very functional right now. We are no longer a small town, and I think that we have some modern day problems and need modern solutions. So I think you need to get in there and work on a 40-year-old organizational chart. So that would be first and foremost, but then again, tackling things like growth on Sumar Street, Union Pier, Those are things that are right up my alley, things I know a lot about,
Okay.
and excited to bring that expertise to Charleston.
William Cogswell, candidate for mayor of the city of Charleston. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Raphael.
We'll be right back.
Appreciate it.